Just go home and watch Price is Right. But if you are older, you have a better chance of getting it. Right, Mike Gundy? Oh, 40? You should be all right. And he won't be broadcasting sports, but one guy that feels the same way we all do with no sports, probably Joe Buck.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness.
Sports Drive 5 to 7 with no sports.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish dad.
Oh, come on. This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Parents, good news! Help is here for your child's educational success. Sylvan Learning Center in Pensacola and Shalimar is excited to announce they are open and have amped up their standards to keep students and families safe and healthy. At a time like now, we know a lot of families have been struggling. Sylvan can help. Call Sylvan Learning Center today and let them help you make sure your kids don't fall behind. Call Sylvan Learning Center today at 1-800-EDUCATE to make sure they are ready to start the next school year strong.
JP here with Talk Football and the Sports Drive. At ESPN Pensacola, we're hometown proud. We love our hometown heroes like Super Bowl champion and NFL Hall of Famer Derek Brooks.
The Super Bowl, and they're trying to win it for us. Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon, throws up the middle. It's intercepted at the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25, 20. Derek Brooks all the way.
This is former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Washington High School alum, Derek Brooks. You listen to ESPN Pensacola.
For your ESPN Pensacola Ridiculous Facts, I'm JP. The average lifespan of an MLB baseball is 5 to 7 pitches. What an absolute waste. The longest boxing match with gloves in history was 110 rounds long. It began around 9 p.m. on April 6, 1893, and ended the next day well after 4 a.m. Yikes. Give me a round of whatever they had. That's your ESPN Pensacola Ridiculous Facts. I'm JP.
There's only one name in town when it comes to afternoon local sports talk. The Sports Drive with Chad Brilliante.
Some athletes don't want to be given... nobody does. No, look, when you play with your pops as it gets older, one of the most embarrassing things... My daughter's 3. I just slam it right in her face right at the play school hoop. Like right there, like I'm Zion Williamson.
The games, the players, the fans. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Hey, this is Chad Brilliante from the Afternoon Sports Drive, and you're listening to Sports Call with Davis Allen and Justin Patrick on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
So I've kind of taken this song, Level of Concern by the 21 Pilots, as my COVID-19 theme song. Because at least in my knowledge, this is the first song that has come out that sort of mentions coronavirus and having to be quarantined and all that stuff. And right now, all the 50 states are, they're lightening up their restrictions. They're easing them up a little bit. They're starting to allow people to slowly, I'm not saying they're rapidly allowing people to go out and do stuff again, but slowly we are seeing states start to reopen and allow people to do a little bit more. Now, of course, if you get in contact with someone that has it, you are still supposed to quarantine yourself for 14 days. You need to get tested. You need to do everything you have to do. There's also antibodies tests that are out there now. But I'm going to reflect on just what's going on here locally and our state, because what's going on in the state affects us here locally. So Governor Ron DeSantis more and more and more is opening up the state. And last week at this time, I broke down basically what full phase 1 is. And we're not quite to phase 2, although our own Mayor Robinson, he believes that Governor DeSantis will start to get to phase 2 or start reopening phase 2, which what is phase 2? I really don't even know yet. It's just more, it's allowing us to be able to do more than what it is that we're doing now, which I imagine phase 2 would probably include opening up bars once again and movie theaters and stuff like that. But because right now those are still closed. Like if you are a bar, you either are serving drinks outside with outdoor seating or you're just not open, period. You have to stay outside. You cannot allow people inside.
Yep.
That's what's going on. I experienced that yesterday, actually. But anyways, last week I broke down what all phase 1 is, but one of the big things I mentioned were short-term rentals still not allowed to rent out housing. And that's a big financial loss for people who essentially make their living renting out their condos, renting out their homes for people that want to come to Pensacola Beach or to Pensacola to vacation in general. And that is a huge loss of income. Now, I don't know many people that are trying to vacation right now in Pensacola given everything that's happening, but that's still a loss because you're not allowed to rent out your place, period. So since then, Governor DeSantis has allowed states to not states, but our area to reopen short-term rentals for the Panhandle area. There are still areas in the state of Florida that cannot reopen, but here locally we proposed a plan to allow our short-term rentals to start renting again, and that has since been approved. And now, and it wasn't even DeSantis that had to approve it. I can't remember this person's name, but this person who oversees that specific department, she gave the approval, and now we're all good to go. If you are an owner of a short-term rental, you are now allowed to rent out your home once again. So that is one thing that we are doing. And I mentioned before we went to the break that on Sundays, you can start maneuvering around the streets of Palafox Street. You can't drive on it because they're closing down the street. It's basically gallery night. And it's a encouragement for you to come out, go from, restaurants to retail stores, all that, and be able to put money back into our local economy once again. That is what this whole idea is behind Mayor Grover Robinson. And originally, I believe it was only supposed to benefit restaurants, but it has since expanded to stores. And what are stores and restaurants allowed to do now? They're allowed to open up to 50% capacity.
Yep.
And which is a good thing, honestly, stores can probably hold 100 people, less than that, I'm sure, in downtown. But how often is a store, I'm just saying store, because restaurants can pack out, but a retail store beyond 50% capacity?
Not often, unless they have some big blowout sale going on or it's Black Friday. You don't usually see that big, packed out, full house type of atmosphere in a store, really. So, I mean, pretty much they're going to be going back to regular business. It seems to be for stores at least. I know restaurants, it's a completely different story. Bars, of course, like Seville, Wild Greg's, O'Reilly's, those still the outer, the porch areas, they're still open. But the indoor, they're not, because really, perhaps for example, Seville on Thursday nights for college night. I've been there for that, and so. It's packed. It's like you're like sardines in there because like all the college kids are going in. You can't have it. It's gonna be a while till you can have that type of atmosphere back because it's literally it's impossible to social distance. Impossible to social distance in that type of atmosphere. So you really can't do that in bars right now. So you still have a while till bars come back. But restaurants, they are taking precautions. They're doing every other table they can do that. I actually found a funny story though. There's a restaurant owner in Charlotte. And she said that she didn't like her restaurant looking so empty, but she also didn't want to have the scary yellow tape up either. And she didn't want to use the paper, but she didn't want to look at it empty as well. So what she did, she got blow-up dolls off Amazon and dressed them. She put clothes on them, and she put them at the tables where people couldn't sit. So the restaurant wouldn't look as empty.
Now, are these blow-up dolls that you can have relations with, or
because I asked the same thing. I was really confused because I reported this story on Cat Country because I found it on there, and I was just like, that's my first question. It's like, what type of questions are we doing here? I mean, like, I was just like, I don't know, because like it's kind of it's iffy. It's iffy.
Well, so there is a South Korean soccer team that did not want their stadium looking empty. And in baseball, they're using cardboard cutouts. In my personal opinion, I think it looks dumb if you do that.
Yep.
Because, and that's a question I'm going to ask Jonathan Griffith. I think it looks dumb when you do something like that because the stadium's empty. Like, my mind is prepared for the stadium to look empty. They're already using like crowd tracks to try and make it seem like there are fans in the stands, but they're so quiet that it makes it seem like there's one person in the stands.
Yep.
Well, this soccer team in Seoul, South Korea, they used dolls that are adult dolls. Let me put it that way. Adult dolls in the stands, and they have since had to apologize.
Yeah.
And now they're apparently facing punishment from their league because they did that move. And all I'm saying is, why even have to do it to begin with?
Yep.
The stadium has to be empty. What, does it motivate the players to see them out there? If anything, it reminds me that the stadium is empty. Look, I know it's empty.
It makes it really specific that we have these for a certain reason, and it's because we can't have the actual people here. So, but also that goes back to my point is that I'm excited to see, I don't want it, of course, but I'm excited to see sports with no fans.
Right.
Because we've never seen it before, and we saw it. I think we saw it years ago in baseball with the Orioles, because there was some riot going around the stadium, so fans couldn't get in. So that's the last time we saw an atmosphere of that sort of mindset. But we don't ever see it in basketball or football, because those are usually it's a big crowded atmosphere. Baseball, there's a lot more games, so they're not always jam packed like those basketball and football games. But the thing is, I'm excited to see, because we're going to see actual raw talent come out. The fans aren't going to play a whole purpose. And it's really, will home court or / home field advantage really play a factor anymore now? Because, that court best. But the thing is, the reason why home court and home field advantage play a factor is the fans. So if you don't have that, does that really even play a factor anymore?
So that's actually going to be another conversation we're going to have later on in the show is, sports, I believe, will return.
Yeah.
Is basketball going to return? Is hockey going to return? I'm not sure about that right now. But right now they're looking at it as no fans can be in attendance. But right now, other companies that specialize, especially in numbers, are putting up projections of how much money would be lost if, A, the sport weren't to be played, but also, B, if you play and do not have fans in the stands, how much revenue your team and league would stand to lose. So we're going to get into that here later on in the show, but coming up after this break, the president of the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, Jonathan Griffith, will be joining us to discuss the future of the Pensacola Blue Wahoos and their 2020 season. If the MLB plays, what does that mean for the Blue Wahoos? We'll get those questions answered coming up after this break. You're listening to Sports Call Davis and Justin on ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hear ye, hear ye. I bringeth thee a message from... a message from the king and his new trumpeter, Stephen. The king wishes me to convey his favor to thine team and thine tailgate. Not yet. He invites thee to let the Bud Light flow forth. And he also wishes me to tell thee that he toasts thee. Waiteth until the end, Stephen! With game day's favorite light lager and the slogan of his kingdom, oh, Dilly Dilly.
Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri.
Looking for future leaders we can believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Florida. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It includes learning to listen, accepting responsibility, being a good role model, and it's about respect. The result, it transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. This message presented by the Florida High School Athletic Association and the Florida Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Here are the ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM contest rules. You can win one prize per household per contest in any 30-day period, unless specified by individual contest rules. All prizes are non-transferable, non-redeemable for cash, or exchangeable for any other contest prize. Prizes must be redeemed within a 30-day period of winning and must be 18 years of age or older to win. For a complete list of rules, visit ESPNpensacola.com.
JP here. At ESPN Pensacola, we are hometown proud. Like the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of all time, Roy Jones Jr.
Three-time light heavyweight world champion and former heavyweight champion of the world, future Hall of Fame legend, Roy Jones
What up? It's your boy Roy Jones Jr. and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
Hey, this is Chad Berliante from the Afternoon Sports Drive, and you're listening to Sports Call with Davis Allen and Justin Patrick on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM and 99.1 FM. This is Sports Call with Davis and Justin on ESPN Pensacola. And joining us here in a little bit, we're having a little connection issues, but he'll be joining us here in a moment. Jonathan Griffith, the president of the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, to discuss the Pensacola Blue Wahoos season, the potential of having a season, and what he has heard from Major League Baseball and Minor League Baseball. And will we have anything? And will there be fans? Will there not be fans? Just everything that there is to expect, we'll be hearing about that coming up here shortly. But for right now, I do want to kind of touch on what it is that we have been discussing, and it is, will there be a season? And I think the popular opinion right now is yes, there's going to be a football season of some kind, and there will be a baseball season. And it's looking promising that there's going to be a baseball season at what would normally be the All-Star break. They would just do the second half of the season. So I know popular opinion is, yes, it's looking more and more and more like it's going to happen. And then the other question usually is, are there going to be fans in attendance? And largely that answer has been, well, no. However, when you have schools like Ohio State come back and say, we are exploring options of having 20,000 people in the stands, and if they ease up restrictions, then having perhaps up to 50,000 people in the stands, because keeping in mind their stadium holds over 100,000 people.
Yeah.
Now, will 50,000 happen? No, because I'm already saying I don't think there's going to be fans in the stands, period.
Because you can't, let's say you wanted to try 50,000 people, yeah, you can maybe have some sort of social distancing in the stands. But think about the rest of the game. You know, the bathrooms around the stadium. Then you have the concession stands. And then getting into the game. There's no way you can social distance all of that. You may be able to social distance during the game to the best of your ability, but there's no way you can do it, before the game and after the game and even during, within the stadium. So it's impossible to have 50,000 and probably 20,000 as well, honestly.
And the state of Texas, their governor believes that college football, their governor, Greg Abbott, he thinks that college football is going to be starting on time. Not only that, he thinks that they're also going to be fans in attendance of these games. And again, it is hard to really believe that all of this can happen. One thing I will say is, I was at the park yesterday. I was actually over at Roger Scott.
Really?
Because I live fairly close to that park.
Yeah.
So that's the park I usually like to walk to. I like to take my dog there. And I saw not only teams out there practicing, I saw flag football games. I saw pickup soccer games. And none of these looked organized by coaches. I'm just going to say that. None of these looked like they were organized, let's say. It really more looked like a group of people that called each other, texted each other, said, hey, let's go and meet at the fields at this time. And that's what happened. Mm-hmm. Now, was there, quote-unquote, proper social distancing? No. It's impossible to play the game of soccer, especially, and have proper social distancing. You can get away with it in baseball because, especially if you're in the field at your position, you're spaced out. Now, if you're a catcher and the batter, that's actually the closest you're going to get between players is that distance between a catcher and a pitcher. And if you don't have an umpire, then you're fine. Yep. Unless you have an umpire that's in the field, then an umpire can be socially distant. Yeah. Because, we've all played summer ball. We've all played fall ball where There's not an umpire behind the plate, but rather behind the pitcher. And
I hate those.
I actually loved. We used to have back when I was at Gulf Breeze, and I don't know if they have done it in recent years. I just haven't followed up. But at the end of our baseball season, the Wave, which is another league that I coached.
I've played against the Wave.
I coached for the Wave organization for a season. Actually, a really fun time for me to be coaching that. Or I coached 11-year-olds, 11U, and we would, as baseball players, help run that tournament. And they were always short of umpires, and I love umpiring. Like, I'm surprised in my free time I haven't tried to become an umpire, because I would always umpire. Because it was either that or help clean up the field at the end of a game. Because, we would go out there with the tractor or with our rakes, and we'd clean up the field and get ready for the next game. And I think the tournament hasn't happened in recent years only because they haven't been able to get teams put together. But I used to always love umpiring. Always love umpiring. I remember I was umpiring a coach pitch game, and this coach was so furious with me, and I eventually said, "Man, you are a coach of coach pitch. Relax."
Yeah. I mean, but the field umpires that call like strikes and balls and summer ball, I was never a fan because you weren't a pitcher. I was. So, it was a little bit different.
I was a pitcher, but a bad pitcher. Continue.
Okay.
I quit pitching when I got to high school.
Yeah,
I knew
exactly.
it was good for me.
But see, like when you got to like high school level and you get these umpires that are calling strikes and balls from behind you, and you're just like, they'll be off to an angle to like, that 5 feet off. And they're not taking it straight on, so it hits a little bit different for them. And so you're seeing it, and you're just like, that's a strike. And they hear ball. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, come on. Like, that's how. It's literally, like, right there on the edge. And he's like, no, it's a ball. I was like, okay.
It's like, all right, yeah. I'm gonna step back from this one.
I'm just going to keep throwing here,
Thing is, I always figured as a player, at some point, I'm going to get ejected. Because I was not necessarily afraid to mouth off to an umpire. And I'm a fairly calm person. Like, if you know me, I am a pretty calm person. I have a lot of patience. But all that patience goes out the door when I'm on the baseball field. It's like my brother with golf. My brother is a pretty patient person in a way. But when he's on the golf course, all that patience goes out the window. Like, I get that when it comes to sports. And as a player, there's been a couple of moments where an umpire's had to warn me. And if you get ejected as a player, that is a huge issue. Especially in high school.
Yeah.
Because not only do you get ejected, but your coach gets ejected also.
And they have to take a class.
Yeah, then you have to take a class. It's a lot of fines. It is a mess if you as a player get ejected. It is not a fun thing.
No.
And so my first year done playing baseball, I did not go and pursue my collegiate opportunity. I instead went to UWF and was just a student. And then I went and helped out over at Gulf Breeze, I went and helped out with tryouts because that was going on, and I ended up throwing most of the BP during tryouts. And so when everything was done, my head coach at the time, he approached me and said, "Hey, so we need an assistant for the freshman team. Would you consider being the freshman assistant and volunteer?" And I was okay with volunteering because I was rushing my fraternity. Actually, I was not rushing. I was in my first year after being initiated into my fraternity, and we needed volunteer hours, so I figured, all right, I can log these as volunteer hours. That's fine.
Yep.
And also I had another part-time job, so that was cool. I was making money on the side anyways. And I initially said no because a part of me was like, man, I miss playing the game to where I came out here because I wanted to get my baseball fill, and I helped with tryouts. I hit ground balls. I threw BP. I think I'm good. But then I thought about it, and then the next day I called and was like, all right, yeah, count me in. And so my third game into coaching, we're in Niceville, and you actually know the guy I coached with, Steve Chaney.
Oh yeah,
Chaney. I think he was your pitching coach, right?
Yeah, he was my pitching coach. See, my first time I met Chaney, he asked me what my name was. I just told him, Justin, and my actual last name, and he just goes, all right, I'm gonna call you Willie. So he always just called me Willie. And no one else ever called me but him. I always liked Chaney because he was a straight up coach. He always made it a little bit more interesting for you, but he was always straight up with you, and he actually helped me out a lot when he was coaching me at Milton.
So yeah, and Chaney's a great guy.
Yeah,
this guy is a great guy. I hope you're listening, man, because you are a really cool guy to work with, and you're a funny guy too. And so him and I, we're coaching this freshman team, and we had a really good team. Like, this was a team. This team went on to win the district title when they were at varsity level. We had a really good team. And anytime we lost, it was a big deal. Because if we lost, it was because our team just played like garbage. And there was one game, we're in Niceville, the third game. This was one of our 3 losses. I think we only lost 3 games. Out of like the 20-plus games that we played that year, we only lost 3 games. And we were in Niceville. We had a doubleheader. And the first game was just going bad. Like, we were not getting a call going our way. Our team was flat. It was just bad. And we were finally getting a little bit of a rally going. And it was 2 outs in the 6th inning, because it's 7 innings in high school baseball. So it's in the 6th inning, and our player is running. He hits a ground ball. He's like our fastest player on the team. He beats out the throw. And I'm the first base coach. Mm-hmm. And the umpire calls him out. And for some reason in that whole ordeal, I lose my mind. And I go running out in the field. I'm blowing up at this umpire. I didn't get 3 steps on the field, and I get ejected. No. And I turn around. I walk away. I throw, because you have to wear a hard hat helmet out there. I throw my helmet. I pack up my gear. I hang out in the stands. I actually hang out behind the dugout because I'm kind of like trying to like calm down and recollect what just happened. And I go back in the dugout after the game because we still had another game. And I'm like, well, I guess I can't stay for this one. And Shaney's like, nope.
Wait, what year was this?
This was 2014.
Okay, and you said it was the freshman team, right?
Yeah.
Okay, see, I was really close because I remember when I played Golf Breeze, like it was, I think it was like 2015 or 2016 that season. We played Golf Breeze, an extremely good freshman team. Probably the best freshman team we faced all season was Golf Breeze, and I remember I was like, that was around the time when I played against that team in my freshman year. So I was like, what did you coach against me? I was like, because it was really close. I think, but we're a year off because 2015 is when I played on freshman.
It was 2014. Yeah. Looking back, it was 20. Because I graduated in 2013.
Yeah.
And then the season would have been 2014. So yeah, it wasn't. You were just a year, and I stopped coaching after that year. For that, I took like 2 years off, and then I came back and did the wave. But still, that was a mess in itself because I had to. I offered to pay all my fines, but Golf Breeze they paid all the fines, because we have funds for stuff like that. I guess I got called into the athletic director's office. Now I don't even go here anymore. And I'm getting called into the athletic director. I feel like I got called into the dean's office, and I'm over here having to explain myself and what happened. And he was not happy. He was not happy at all. He's like, not too often that a volunteer assistant coach gets ejected from a game.
It's passion.
And yet you managed to get ejected from the game.
It's passion.
And I'm like, dude, like, all this, by the way, there with the FHSAA, the Florida High School Student Athletic Association, you have to fill out reports. Because they're going to come back and say, okay, why did this guy get ejected? And they want to know both sides. What happened here? They need a report from the umpire as well, because the umpires have to report that they had to eject someone from the game because now the FHSAA has to issue fines to you. So all these fines are getting initiated. I'm having to take this 5-hour test, which if you're a coach and you know the game, it is the most pointless test in the world. But that's kind of the punishment, is that you have to take a timed 5-hour test and you have to answer the most basic questions ever. And it's so annoying because you're not even really getting quizzed. You're not getting challenged. You know the answers, but it's mainly just a punishment that's having to take up your time.
Yep.
And I was not allowed to coach. I technically wasn't allowed in a facility until I had taken the test. I took the test. We had a game going on. I showed up for the game, and I managed to coach the rest of the game because I was technically good to go. All the fines were paid. All I needed to do was take that test. I took that test. And do I regret it?
No.
Do I regret it?
You don't.
There is not a single ounce of me that regrets getting tossed from that game.
You can't. I mean, so I've always been one that I never ever have really been a guy who argues with the umpire. I've been upset about a lot of calls, but the thing is, I've always been a guy who's because here's the thing: you could try and argue with an umpire all you want, you'll never win. He will never. He will never change his call.
No, an umpire might come back later and be like. Especially if you don't get ejected, he might look back on it.
Maybe after the game, he'll look back on it and say, yeah, I was wrong there. But in a game, he will not. So I've always just kept my mouth shut. and just let that plane do the talking. Now, there's been a couple times where I'll be pitching, and I'm just not getting a certain part of the plate, and I'll show some attitude. I'll stare a little bit, do a little bit of glove slap when I catch the ball. My coach will see it and he'll say, "No, you stop it." I was just like, I'm not doing anything, but I really am. But I've never been someone to say anything straight up to the umpire, just because it's just you're never going to win. And also, I've never been someone who complains about a strike zone of what an umpire has, because no umpire is going to have the same exact strike zone, and so as a player, I say you need to adjust to his strike zone, because that's what he's going to be calling. It doesn't matter what you think. What's your strike zone? He don't give two, whatevers about your strike zone. It's his strike zone, no other. So you have to adjust to him. He's not going to adjust to you. That's the type of baseball mentality I've always had when it comes to hitting in umpire strike zones.
So, by the way, we are on YouTube. So if you go to our ESPN Pensacola YouTube page, you can check the live stream with Justin and I. We're both on the stream. You can see Justin doing the wave. As for me, I am sitting inside the studio running the board. Here shortly, we are expecting a call from the Blue Wahoos president, Jonathan Griffith. We're going to be discussing the Blue Wahoos season. In the meantime, we're going to take another timeout because we're going to bring it back. We're going to love it
or hate it. I'm excited.
Coming up after this break.
It's been a while.
You're listening to Sports Call with Davis and Justin on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM and 99.1 FM.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
Your ESPN Pensacola Ridiculous Facts, I'm JP. The average lifespan of an MLB baseball is 5 to 7 pitches. What an absolute waste. The longest boxing match with gloves in history was 110 rounds long. It began around 9 p.m. on April 6, 1893, and ended the next day well after 4 a.m. Yikes. Give me a round of whatever they had. That's your ESPN Pensacola Ridiculous Facts. I'm JP. JP here. Everyone here at ESPN Pensacola wants to send a shout out to our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. We know it's tough, but we appreciate the work you put day in and day out. We also want to thank our essential workers out there for helping all of us continue to live our lives as normal as possible in this time. For our community, keep rocking it. We are going to get through this. Remember, we were named the #1 strong town in America. That wasn't by accident. We have seen so many people step up and do their part, and we thank all those people for their efforts. We will be stronger for this, and together, we will beat COVID-19.
Welcome to Bold! Okay, hi, what are we doing today?
I need something that screams something fun. Nothing too on the face, nothing too off the face, but also totally hot.
So I have the perfect thing. It's the most food mullet. You're totally business in the front, but tailgate in the back. It's a fat party. People are having fun. Snap. All your friends are going to be like, whoa, awesome setup. Everyone else is going to be all jelly, okay?
Just like a killer mullet, Moe's Catering will turn the back of your ride into a tailgate party that's sure to turn some heads. Just order ahead and pick it up on your way.
Moe's Southwest Grill, now open in Pace on Highway 90 next to Publix grocery store.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
If you are a collector, investor, or just an avid sports fan, then listen up. Coins, sports cards, and racing collectibles in Gulf Breeze has one of the largest sports memorabilia collections in the area, with new inventory arriving weekly. If Hot Wheels is your thing, they have that too, with old, new, and special edition models to choose from. At Coins, sports cards, and racing collectibles, you can buy, sell, or trade. Located on Highway 98 in Gulf Breeze, Coins, sports cards, and racing collectibles is the place to go to collect either for fun or to invest for profits.
The latest sports news is at ESPNpensacola.com and on Facebook at ESPN Pensacola. Plus, watch Chad Brillante, Coach K, and Sports Call live on our exclusive YouTube channel, ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K.
Credit a great performance by Garoppolo. And I love the way he throws the football. He's got all the things going for him.
Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1.
Hey, this is Chad Brillante from the Afternoon Sports Drive, and you're listening to Sports Call with Davis Allen and Justin Patrick on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM and 99.1 FM. We're bringing it back. This is the type of this is kind of the show where, or this is the part of the show where Justin Patrick and I, it's been a little while since we've done this, since you haven't been here, but normally at this part of the show, when we're going into the 12 top of the hour, we want to either discuss how we like it or if we love it. Justin, take it away.
All right, so the first one, because Last Dance is so fresh, and so is this news of the Brady documentary. The Brady documentary series will have more viewers than The Last Dance.
So for right now, I'm saying no. Because also, I'm kind of curious why they're doing this now. I figured Brady would want to do something like this when his career was over. And, I mean, as a Bucs fan, I would like to think he's going to lead the Bucs to a Super Bowl. And he's going to win his 7th Super Bowl. I mean, again, I'm a Bucs fan, so I would like that for the Buccaneers in general. So what if he wins another Super Bowl, or at least goes to another Super Bowl, but it's a 9-part series about the 9 Super Bowls that he's played in? Do they just add on to it? I guess they would. That would probably push back production. But for right now, I'm going to say no.
No, I'm agreeing with you there. But I think the reason why Brady wants to is because he did just a couple months ago launch 199 Productions, hence 199, because that's when he was picked in the draft. And he's kind of taking a little bit of a Kobe route, because Kobe did go into media and the film industry after his career was over. So we're probably going to see something similar from Brady when it comes to that. But I still don't think just because Brady, he didn't have as much love as Jordan. He wasn't so dominant as Jordan. Jordan was just a world-renowned superstar. Brady, I think it's a little bit different. I don't think Brady has that same exact hype and love that we see coming out of Jordan. All right, so the NBA and NHL will resume their seasons.
So I've been saying no, but now there's another part of me that wants to say I love it, because if they seem determined. That's why. And how's it even going to look? I'm not really sure yet, but to some sort of capacity, I will say yes. They're practicing, so I love it.
Yeah, I think the NBA at least will resume their season. I don't know about the NHL, but I feel like if the NBA does, the NHL will follow, because when the NBA suspended their season, everything just kind of followed them. Every other sport really did just follow them. All right, love it or hate it, when football season returns, there will be fans in the stands.
So I, for right now, hate it. I'm having a tough time really believing that there are going to be fans in the stands, given that we are still fairly fresh in COVID-19. I mean, yes, we're starting to baby step our way into reopening everything, but I think that we're looking a little too far ahead and getting way too optimistic when we start saying that we want fans in the stands right now. I'm going to say for right now, I hate it.
LeBron will not keep his word of saying he will not play with no fans in the stands.
I mean, I guess I love it because he wants to play.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. I love it because he wants to play.
I mean, I know a lot of people, they didn't want this to happen, so he was just being really, optimistic, and he was just being really forceful with it, saying, I don't want that. I don't want this to happen. Last one, Kalen Newton, younger brother of Cam, will transfer to play at Auburn.
Well, he did transfer.
Yeah.
Is he going to play, though? I don't think so, but he wanted to go to Auburn. He wanted to follow in his brother's footsteps. He did well at Howard, but Bo Nix had a really good year, I think, as a freshman. He's going to be their starter. All right. Netflix review up next.
This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
Your ESPN Pensacola Ridiculous Facts, I'm JP. The average lifespan of an MLB baseball is 5 to 7 pitches. What an absolute waste. The longest boxing match with gloves in history was 110 rounds long. It began around 9 p.m. on April 6, 1893, and ended the next day well after 4 a.m. Yikes. Give me a round of whatever they had. That's your ESPN Pensacola Ridiculous Facts. I'm JP.
Why go to the pharmacy when the pharmacy can come to you? Gulf Breeze Apothecary offers free delivery to customers in Gulf Breeze and Pensacola Beach. Got questions with medications or COVID-19? Just give them a call and they'll be glad to help you. If you need a mask or hand sanitizer, they have that too. Along with free delivery, they have a drive-thru and a mobile app for easy refills. Gulf Breeze Apothecary, right across from Andrews Institute.
Beef O'Brady's has always been about food, family, and fun, and you're ready to get the whole family out of the house for some fun. It's a match made in heaven. So the brand new Beef O'Brady's at New Marketplace on 9 Mile Road had a pretty sweet idea. Let's have the inaugural Beef O'Brady's Crawfish Festival with some of the best singers in town. Friday night, Chloe Chanel from American Idol at 7:30. Saturday, Tim Spencer kicks it off at 2 and the High Time Band at 7. And Sunday at 6, it's Muskogee Ridge. Amazing entertainment this Memorial Day weekend for the whole family to enjoy. We'll see you at Beef's.
Hip, hip. Hip, hip. Hip, hip. Hip, hip. When you're
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM and 99.1 FM. So when this whole coronavirus stuff began, I've been spending the top of the hour doing my Netflix review of the week, but for right now, we'll move that over to the next segment because on the line with us, we do have the president of the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, Jonathan Griffith, on the line with us. Jonathan, I appreciate the time this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Dave.
Yeah, no problem, man. So first off, obviously no baseball at the stadium as of right now. So how are things going over at Blue Wahoo Stadium?
Well, funny thing is, starting at 8 o'clock this morning, there's been baseball being played, I believe, every hour and a half. We have the Pensacola Men's Baseball League actually playing there right now up until 5 o'clock before we start our dinner service there at the ballpark. So we're actually pretty happy to have some kind of baseball. It's not Blue Wahoo baseball, but at least we're having some kind of baseball out there right now. So that's pretty exciting.
No way. So how many teams are out there playing? Is this like a tournament style?
Well, it's their opening day for the men's league.
Okay.
So so opening day, every team gets to play. I think they have eight teams. I think there's 4 or 5 games today to kick off their season for 2020. So they're really excited, and that's our big thing is being able to have that ballpark for the community. And even though it's men's league and not the Blue Wahoos, it's pretty cool.
Wait, so we've been sort of having this conversation all throughout the day of when we can expect fans coming back into the stands. So are fans allowed to come out and watch their loved ones play, or are we still having to abide by a safe social distance of you cannot attend? Like, how are y'all handling that situation today?
Yeah, so with the governor's ordinance and everything, we're actually able to open now. Obviously, if we had a baseball team to come here and play, we could do that, but with social distancing. So we're taking a lot of precautions. The different things like every other urinal. With the seating, it's every other row and then spacing out unless you kind of are with a group. We're letting groups of 10 stay together, but if they're not with a group of 10, then they got to space themselves out. We actually created a new position within our organization where that person's job is to basically facilitate making sure we're following our guidelines. So they walk around and basically make sure our guests abide by the rules, our own staff abide by the rules. I mean, that's one of the toughest things we found when we first started doing things at the ballpark. Our staff hasn't seen each other in so long that the first thing they want to do is hug and hang out and talk and that kind of thing. And it's kind of like, hey, guys, we're so happy everybody's here, but we got to make sure we're socially distancing ourselves. And, all of our staff wears gloves and we wear the mask and we're doing all of those type of things. But, the great thing about an outside ballpark is the fact that you can socially distance and still have entertainment.
So, actually, with that, I want to ask you now, looking ahead to a hopeful baseball season, what kind of talks have you had in relation with the MLB? Do you know of any plan that is currently in place or being discussed for Major League Baseball and what that plan would then turn into for minor league baseball? What have you been hearing?
It's all been exactly what you guys hear through the papers. Major League Baseball and minor league baseball literally have not communicated at all as far as what's to happen. There's 2 things. One, they're worried about Major League Baseball getting started. So I think once that starts, then we'll figure out the minor league side of it. I would think in the next week we should hear something. I mean, in order to get these guys, from all over the world to the States and making sure they're in their towns, it has to happen within the next week because of the coordination of it. And so I would think we're going to hear that. I think a lot of the stuff that we're hearing are really through organizations, other stadium organizations, things like that, of what does safety look like. But, it changes every day. I was watching the news this morning that now says surfaces don't matter. Well, we've been cleaning the living daylights out of our ballpark and all of our businesses, and now they're saying, well, it's really unlikely that you'll even get it on a surface. So we're always taking the precaution that even with the hearsays and the difference, we'd rather be safe than sorry. So we're going overboard with us on safety for not only our fans but our employees as well. That's really key to us is, happy employees, safe employees will make for a happy, safe environment for our fans as well. So that's what we're always, focused on is how can we be as safe as possible. And, sometimes that causes where we're not going to have as many people. Next Saturday we're going to have our first movie night and fireworks at the ballpark. We're only going to allow the first 1,000 people that purchase tickets will be all for a 5,000-seat stadium. And it's not that we can't do more. It's we want to make sure that we know what we're doing and we can safely do it in a safe environment. So the first one will be that. Then we'll ramp it up to about 2,500 the next weekend. So we're just always learning, and we never want to just bring a bunch of people in and have disorder. We want to make sure we can guarantees everybody's safety.
Hey, Jonathan, Justin Patrick here. I was curious to know, what has the organization been doing with a player standpoint and taking precautions with the players when it comes to practicing, and what they'll be doing when it comes to when the season actually begins to see the light of getting started back up?
The big thing that I've heard is they're basically keeping them contained to their places. Now, that's hard. They're grown men, right? So if they want to go down to Seville Quarter, it's going to be tough when the bars open up to keep a 22, 23-year-old kid to not go down there and want to have fun, meet people, see people. So it's going to be very interesting how they do that. The big thing they've been talking about is making sure they have enough testing that they can find results out fast, where it's not 2 or 3 weeks later, well, they've infected the entire team. I've had, in the clubhouse is always a tough place because of the fact you have, 30-some people that are in very close proximity of each other. And then they all, after a ball game, who knows where they go. And then the next day they're back together for another 12 hours. So it's really it's always been a problem with the ballparks, for staph infections or any other things like that you have, mono. The list goes on and on in my career of different things that we've gone through in clubhouses, because normally it's not one guy, it's 4 or 5, just because of the close proximity. So that's going to be a concern, and I think forever, especially in minor league baseball, because it's, we ride on a bus for 8 hours. We, they're in the same showers, it's very close proximity. So, I think at the end of the day, it's always just safety first, staying safe, and then making sure that we're able to have those tests.
So we're speaking with Jonathan Griffith. He is the president of the Pensacola Blue Wahoos on ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM. Now, Jonathan, this almost may be an unfair question. I'm not sure if I can ask you to give an opinion or at least a hope, but I know Major League Baseball is hoping to come back on July 4th. If that happens, the players that aren't playing at the Major League level are going to essentially go somewhere. In your eyes, do you see a Blue Wahoo season continuing around that same time period?
I do, and then if we're not at that time, then we won't play this year, is what I would say.
Okay.
Because the time clock's running out. So if we don't play by July, then they're not going to have the minor league guys going to the cities and everything else. I think we've been looking to a 2021 season for actual Blue Wahoos baseball. And that's why we've been so proactive with our staff. And our big thing is to keep people employed. So everything that we've been doing as far as the family meals, the opening the ballpark up for lunch and dinner where you can sit at the ballpark and have lunch and dinner. I don't know if you guys saw the newest thing we just released yesterday, but we actually have made the Blue Wahoo Stadium into an Airbnb now, where you can
really
come out
wait, what?
with buddies or friends. Yeah. So you can come stay at the clubhouse over the weekend, and you get to have up to 10 people stay in the home clubhouse. We have bunk beds and beds in there. and be able to do a weekend at the Blue Wahoo Stadium. So we're kind of doing anything and everything to make sure we're keeping the stadium activated and keeping people employed.
Wait, I just want to make sure I heard that correct. So I could go on Airbnb right now, and if it's available, I could rent out the clubhouse for myself and 9 of my friends to spend the night for whatever duration I rent it out for.
Absolutely, yep. And we're also have upgrades where you can get your name on your jersey. You can have BP. I mean, you can even have where if you want walk-up music as you guys go out onto the field to be able to do BP that night or go hit in the cage. You can even have your own fireworks show if you'd like as well. So we have all kinds of upgrades with it as well. So it's basically making it a great experience for somebody, great for a bachelor party or little league night at the ballpark, or just because to go hang out at an awesome ballpark and with the views and everything else. And we just renovated that clubhouse, and we spent about roughly $250,000 renovating that clubhouse, making it top of the line. So it's like being at a major league clubhouse with an awesome view as well.
Okay, I have never heard of any other teams doing something like that. Is this an original thing the Blue Wahoos have pioneered, or have you noticed other teams doing this to generate revenue?
No, I'm pretty sure we're the first ever to do it.
This is cool. This is so cool. Wow.
Yeah, we've really tried to be innovators. That even started with the family meals. With the meals that we were doing on the curbside. We're the first baseball team to ever do it. Now, if you read articles and stuff, there's many that are doing it now. They just had to figure. We've been a lot of consultants to people, as far as phone calls and stuff like that. And I would imagine next week with this news coming out, we're going to be consultants in the Airbnb world as well.
Man, so that's something really cool, and you better believe that Justin over here has already been on Airbnb, and he's currently looking it up. So if you, by any chance, get a reservation from one of us anytime soon, first off, the BP part is what's most attractive to me, because I've been out there all the time with the Ride in the Pine series, and I'm watching these guys do BP, and I'm just like, oh, I want to be out there so bad. It's an envious thing to be able to experience, but a really cool opportunity that you guys are doing. All right, so Jonathan, I do have a couple more questions for you. With sports right now, football has been a big topic of if football returns, and people are expecting football to return. What have you been hearing about potentially the UWF Argos having football season at the stadium? And that's one question. Then I have a follow-up, but I want to know if you've heard anything regarding the Argos and their upcoming football season.
Well, we're working with the Argos hand in hand, and they're kind of in the same situation we are. Everybody's waiting to see what NCAA is going to allow for. We've had the talks if we're able to have fans, and we're going to have fans at the Wahoo Stadium. For social distancing. We've even talked about, do we not do the bleachers out in right field? And then that way people can spread out more out there on that field. We've talked about what if we don't have any fans? We're not allowed to have any fans at all. Well, we don't have any fans at all, or they're not allowed to have fans, and we should play at UWF and play on the football field because they have a great facility there. They just don't have amenities for a fan, so maybe that's a better situation. So there's a lot of talk, a lot of what-ifs. But everybody's planning on right now for UWF to be able to play and us to have fans until we're told not to. I mean, that's the way we've been doing through this entire thing. We've been always planning for the best, meaning getting to play, be on time, that kind of stuff, have a sold-out crowd. And then you can always back down your plan compared to trying to figure out, oh, no, we can actually play now. How do we do this? We actually have like 4 or 5 plans. It's just which one do we need to activate?
So, and you sort of answered my question in a way, is so you can have fans if you're allowed. So you're saying that if you can, you will have fans. Let's say if you're allowed to have fans, what is the capacity you would aim for if you can have fans in the stands?
I think 50% to start off. I think we can comfortably put 50% in and keep people safe and spaced out. I would feel comfortable with. So that would put us about 2,500 or so. And that's an easy way to do it. And especially for UWF football, it could even be more because now you can use the field. If we have a concert out there and put the concert out in center field, that ballpark turns in 5,000 to 10,000 capacity for a concert. So it's really depending on what space are you allowed to use. If you can use the field space to spread people out, you can get more. If we're saying just in the stands themselves, I would say about 2,500.
All right, so we're speaking with Jonathan Griffith, the president of the Pensacola Blue Wahoos. Jonathan, I feel like I have a million questions, but I will leave you with this last one. 2020, whether it's played or not, that's we're gonna get there. But I want to ask for 2021. How do you see the future of the Pensacola Blue Wahoos being different given everything that we've experienced? I mean, I feel very confident knowing that we're going to have a full 2021 season, but how do you think that's going to be different from seasons past?
I think the difference is going to be what precautions do we need to take. Hand sanitizers are a thing right now, so we have those. The masks are a thing right now. We actually are going to have our own branded masks and stuff like that. But we're still going to do the customer service. We're going to do all the, normal things for the Blue Wahoos experience. I think the only difference will be what precautions do we need to take. Is it every other urinal, or are we okay being 3 feet away now? So I think that will be the interesting thing to see how people react. I flew down from Milwaukee yesterday and was in Atlanta airport, and I could not believe how empty it was. But just about every single person had a mask on. People had gloves on, and this was just people sitting, as customers coming through there. So I think it's just going to be a new world as far as what precautions people take. But I think we'll all get through it, and obviously with the Wahoos, we'll always be top of our game as far as what needs to be done. As far as bleaching or anything else that we need to do, we will always make sure that our safety of our customers and our staff is number one before we bring anybody in there.
Well, Jonathan, as always, I appreciate the time. Just speaking with you, I feel a little bit of optimism knowing that we could possibly have a baseball season, but also knowing that you guys have a plan. But also now knowing that I can sleep at the clubhouse if I want to.
Right.
So that is a fascinating thing. Jonathan Griffith, the president of the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, thank you for the time today. We appreciate you being on Sports Call.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And anybody interested, go to bluewahoos.com, and you can find out about all the crazy stuff we're doing this summer. So.
Absolutely. Jonathan Griffith, as always, I appreciate the time. 12:17 here on Sports Call with Davis and Just on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM and 99.1 FM. As I speak, I'm currently on Airbnb to figure out the whole situation of staying in the clubhouse. That is an unbelievable opportunity, and I want to pursue that if at all possible. So we're going to spend the commercial break and breaking that part down. That's awesome. Pioneers of doing something really cool. And I'm at the same time, I don't know why, I'm not surprised whatsoever. But we're going to take a quick timeout. And when we come back, I'm going to give you my Netflix review of the week. If I can, I might be too busy trying to book a place at the stadium. We'll see. I'm Davis Allen with Justin Patrick. You're listening to ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM and 99.1 FM.
Pensacola's own NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith has some tips for us during this time.
This fight is up to all of us to try to help bend that curve. It's going to take teamwork. It's going to take us to stay committed, stay focused, and stay dedicated to the mission at hand, and that is to keep everyone safe. So be encouraging. Find some support. Find someone to talk to every day to encourage them to keep on continuing in this fight. And we will beat this pandemic.
We are strong, we are resilient, and we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid, but there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone. Learn more at wearebroadcasters.com/hope, furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
I'm Little Teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
JP here. At ESPN Pensacola, we are hometown proud. Like the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of all time, Roy Jones Jr.
Three-time light heavyweight world champion and former heavyweight champion of the world, future Hall of Fame legend, Roy Jones
What up? It's your boy Roy Jones Jr. and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
Hear ye, hear ye. I bringeth thee a message from... a message from the king and his new trumpeter, Stephen. The king wishes me to convey his favor to thine team and thine tailgate. Not yet. He invites thee to let the Bud Light flow forth. And he also wishes me to tell thee that he toasts thee. Waiteth until the end, Stephen! With game day's favorite light lager and the slogan of his kingdom... Oh, dilly dilly. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hey, seafood lovers. Shannon's Seafood Kitchen is open with dining inside and outside, as well as touchless curbside pickup. The best catfish this side of the Mississippi, homemade gumbo, jumbo fried shrimp, hand-rolled Filipino-style lumpia, po' boys piled high with fresh seafood, coastal fried flounder, and fresh mullet every day. They continue to take precautions for your safety, whether you dine in or take out. Open Tuesday through Saturday at 11, 7000 Pine Forest Road, or call 941-1982. Shannon's Seafood Kitchen.
There's only one name in town when it comes to afternoon local sports talk. The Sports Drive with Chad Brilliante.
Some athletes don't want to be given... nobody does. No, look, when you play with your pops as it gets older, one of the most embarrassing things, my daughter's 3, I just slam it right in her face right at the play school hoop. Like right there, like I'm Zion Williamson.
The games, the players, the fans. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You can watch Sports Call with Davis and Justin live right now on our YouTube channel at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM. So yes, we did find the link on Airbnb, and I'm currently trying to share it to our ESPN Pensacola Facebook page. If my computer would just cooperate with me, but for real, you can literally stay at Blue Wahoo Stadium.
So I've been looking at it. So there are house rules: no smoking, no parties or events, and no pets. All right, that's reasonable.
That makes sense.
Reasonable for a B&B. All right. But then here's something you don't really see in your usual Airbnb. So additional rules are field lights go out at midnight. I don't think I've ever seen that in an Airbnb hotel room, I guess. I've never seen that before. There's a potential for noise. Some spaces are shared, surveillance or recording devices on the property. So, but you get free parking on the premises, which is good. You got to have free parking on the premises. It comes with air conditioning, heating, TV, Wi-Fi, hair dryer, shampoo, fire extinguisher, smoke alarm, first aid kit, the usual things you would see in an Airbnb. And honestly, it's really cool. I'm looking at the pictures of it right now. You see all the lockers, you see, the field. Honestly, I would like to do this, but I'm really excited because I already know some YouTuber out there is going to see this Airbnb and they're going to come get it. And they're going to make 1 million views off this video of saying 24-hour video or spent the night in an Airbnb at a professional baseball stadium.
I would like to think it's not, but even if they do that, it's not going to be anything too insane, I suppose.
But
I think just the idea, just having it.
But have you ever seen that before? Because I don't know if you know Casey Neistat. He's a big vlogger, a big travel vlogger, and he stayed in crazy hotel rooms, and he makes millions of views, crazy airplanes, because he'll be in first class on Emirates. He gets 10 million views off a video because it's just so insane and fancy. But so these type of videos, they do go a long way because I've seen it, I've watched them. They're kind of entertaining because there's they all have their unique touch and factor on them that you wouldn't see in other hotel rooms that you usually just go stay at. So it's kind of cool, but it's interesting. I dig it.
So, anyways, that's happening. That's really cool. We're excited about that. I mean, I don't know if I'll logistically ever do that.
Same.
But still, if you do it, have fun. It looks like a really cool opportunity. But in the meantime, while I have a few minutes, I want to break down my Netflix review of the week. So I came across this show, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday, and it blows my mind. Now, this guy, it's a family-friendly show. I try to really mix it up because some of the shows I've brought up to you have not been family-friendly whatsoever, and I want to be able to recommend shows that, are not just dirty. In general, you could still, watch the show with the family. So my goal is to be able to do something like that for you guys. So here is my personal Netflix review of the week, and it's called Magic with Humans.
Okay.
So this guy, Justin Willman, he is a guy that grew up knowing from the very get-go he wanted to be a magician. And that means, hey, if you want to be a magician, great. That's what you want to do. That's what really gets you going in life, and so you want to be a magician. And so from a young age, I think 12 years old, he apparently broke both of his arms in some sort of accident. And so to help him sort of get the motion back in his fingers, the doctor recommended learn card magic because it involves a lot of finger maneuvering.
Yeah, it's a sleight hand. It's sleight hand, I believe.
So it's a lot of finger maneuvering. And so the doctor said that can help you regain some of that motion back in your fingers. And so he started learning card magic, and he really enjoyed it. And so he took that ability to be able to do card magic and really expanded it, and now he can just do insanely freakish stuff that you sit there over and over again, and you're just watching this, and you keep asking the same question of, how? How were you able to do that? Like, that was impossible. It's constantly like that throughout the entire show. The entire show is basically you saying, how is that possible? So anyways, I'm recommending this show because, one, I love magic.
Yeah, I've always been a great
I love
magic guy. I mean, Penn and Teller. Did you ever watch them?
Yes, I did actually.
Penn and Teller. They're pretty cool to watch. I like the the Fool show. Well, I forgot. It's something. It was in Vegas. You fool us or fool them, something like that. It was something with the word fool in it. And like, if you could fool Penn and Teller, that's crazy because it's really hard to fool Penn and Teller because there's not a lot of tricks out there that they don't know or they don't know how to do. So if you're able to fool them, like, it's a crazy achievement. There's like a couple guys who've done it like twice actually. But Penn and Teller, they've been a couple of my favorite magicians forever.
So and this guy, you watch this show, and it's a 30-minute show. Again, family friendly, but he pulls off incredible stunts that everyone, including myself, you're just, I can't believe it. But it's like levitating. He's able to levitate himself. He's also funny. He's a comedian also, and that's really also where he became famous. Was he was a comedian that also incorporated magic into his acts, and so that really made him stand out. And so there's also stunts where he ends every show doing this huge elaborate stunt. And he specializes in walking the streets of LA and just running into people and being like, hey, you want to learn some card magic or you want to see something really cool? And he'll do stuff like that. Like, he is a guy, he's a people person. He will approach somebody and he will do something with that person or maybe even to that person. And he has segments that reoccur every time he runs into somebody named Susan. It's a segment called Magic with Susan. And he will do he'll do stuff like, one time, he had these 4 people. He went to a skating complex, and he had these 4 people to line up. And he said, one of my biggest fears in life is spicy foods because one time as a kid, I unsuspectingly ate a pepper that burned my mouth, and I just hated spicy food ever since. But every episode has a theme. And so this episode's theme was facing your fears. And every episode also ends with like a message for you to walk away with. And so his big thing was, one of my big fears is spicy foods. And I am going to eat an incredibly spicy pepper. And whenever you eat hot foods, spicy foods, milk is the best thing to drink.
All right, that's a myth. I think it's a myth.
It's not. I've had a really spicy.
Okay,
I've had something really,
Davis.
really spicy and drank milk, and you instantly feel better. Now, the spice comes back, but if you keep drinking milk, it goes away. It's not a myth. I have done it.
It really, because, all right, so you ever heard the show Hot Ones on YouTube with Sean Evans? he'll have like a celebrity. All right, so this is gonna be my sort of Netflix review. Hot Ones. It's a show on YouTube that's been going on for about 4 years now. They'll always have like a big celebrity on, and they have 10 chicken wings, and all having different flavors. It starts off with a really like mild sauce, it's just like a little sauce company that comes from across the country. Someone that not a big name, right? And they build up to these really hot sauces, and they get into the last dab. And now Sean Evans, he's pretty much ate all the hot sauces, and he said this to himself. He's like, it really is a myth. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's something where it messes with your brain, and it's really if it's cold, it does. I mean, there's a myth that the water it spreads it too, but I mean, like in that soda, the carbonation plays a fact in it. I don't know. I've never really been a big fan of it. Like, I still drink milk if I'm eating spicy food because water to me does spread it. It doesn't really help it that much. If it's cold, it does kind of help, but like it still kind of spreads it. But I've never been like it actually like it's like a straight up cure to the spicy heat that you're going against.
So, have you ever actually eaten something spicy and drank milk?
Yes, I mean I do it all the time.
Like, it works, though. It helps make the pain go away. So, anyway, but hey, we're going to get off track if I can't finish this. So, he drinks milk, right? But the only way he can access the milk is if he can take this lock and unlock it, and then he can gain access to the milk. So, the milk is in this lockbox. He does not know the code.
Okay.
So, this is all a card trick, right? So, he eats this pepper, and then he starts doing the stunt. And the whole time, he's dying. Like, his mouth is on fire. He is having trouble breathing, it seems like. And, like, he has saliva coming out. Like, mucus is coming out of his nose. Like, he is having, like a habanero, I believe.
Okay.
Habanero pepper, I'm
It's affecting you like that? I mean,
it's hot.
I mean,
it
not
is
that
very hot.
Like,
so, anyways, he eats this pepper, and he's doing these card tricks. He's like, all right, you pick a card. And the whole time he's like freaking out. He's in a lot of pain. He's like, all right, you pick a card. And so they pick a card. So I'm trying to remember exactly how how it all went. And so he's like, all right, now like you pick a card like in your head. They pick cards in their heads. And so he's like, all right. So I'm out. He's like holding the cards and he's like shuffling around. And then he's like, all right, was this your card? And they're like, oh yes, that was my card. All right, was this your card? And they're like, yeah, that was my card. And then he looks at another person. All right, was this your card? Again, all freaking out. He's having to deal with this pepper because he can't drink the milk because it's in this lockbox. And so he has the 3 cards, went 3 for 3 on the prediction. And then he said, all right, wouldn't it be really cool if like the numbers of the cards added up to the combination? And so apparently the cards did add up to the combination. He unlocks the lock, and now he's able to drink the milk. He does stuff like that.
But it's still in pain. The milk,
yeah.
It doesn't. Because it's not like a straight up cure. It helps. I'll say
it helps.
It
it's
helps.
not a cure, but it helps.
It helps.
It's like a temporary relief. But if you keep drinking milk, it's going to be a big time relief until you stop drinking the milk. But eventually, the pain's going to go away.
It definitely subsides it. It kind of weakens it and cools it off a little bit. But it's still the heat's still there. Especially if what depending on what you eat. What is it? I forgot the word starts with an S, like starts with like scallions, stuff like that. It's something with heat. I forgot how it goes, but yeah, like depending on how hot it is, like it depends on what the milk will actually do. If it's extremely hot, the milk might cause like a little bit. But if it's like a mild something like, let's say, Tabasco's hot sauce, which isn't hot to me, but some other people it is.
Tabasco's pretty hot. It's not like the hottest thing in the world, but it's pretty hot.
Yeah, I mean it's got kick to it for sure. I mean, my spice tolerance has always been pretty high because I've always been just a big spicy food guy. Like I was always like, I'd always get like spicy food at gas stations, like hot fries and stuff like that, and I'd always eat those.
See, hot fries aren't too bad. I'm just not a big fan.
Really?
Not really. I'm not that big of a fan.
Did you ever have like the Andy Capp's hot fries in the blue bags? I don't know if you've ever seen those. Like it's like they're just straight up just called hot fries, not the Chesters or the Cheetos, because I was never a fan of those. But like Andy Capp's hot fries, I remember Sam's used to sell them in like 48 count boxes. Like they'd have like 48 little bags of it, snack bags, and my mom would always get me those from Sam's, and I would eat those in like 3 weeks because those are just my favorite. I still eat those today. They're probably like one of my top 3 favorite chips of all time. I just love them.
Well, anyways, magic for humans.
Yep.
That is my recommendation of the week. It is a really freaky show in a way. Like he does things that you just would not expect. It's almost unearthly, the things that he pulls off, and he's really funny while he's at it. And he's also a big-time family man, so like he just had his first child with his wife, and so now he also loves to incorporate his baby in a way, because to him it's like these are the things that matter the most in life. So it's a show that is really mind-bending, but has a great message to it. And like I mentioned before, it is family-friendly. So there you go. Take it if you will. That is my Netflix review of the week. And as always, if you have a show that you're watching that you want to recommend to me, guys, feel free to do that. I absolutely welcome your feedback. I welcome your recommendations. And, I mean, if I hate the show, I'll even let you know that I hate the show on air.
I definitely would recommend All-American. You said you watch All-American.
I've seen most of it.
Yeah, All-American is definitely a top 3 favorite of my show. Outer Banks, which just came, or at least less than a month ago, that's kind of like the hot thing when it comes to like college and high schoolers right now. That's like the hot thing for them, because every girl is obsessed over John B, the character in that, and then every guy is obsessed over Sarah Cameron and the girl in that, and so they're all obsessed over them. And then also another show that I'm watching is The Grand Tour, which is on Amazon Prime.
Which
Video.
is an awesome show.
It's an awesome show.
It's a spinoff. It's like a direct spinoff of another show, Top Gear.
Top Gear.
It's the same exact thing.
Same guys, pretty much, but they do a little bit something different, because like Top Gear, they would like have little cut scenes of doing this car, something with this car or this car, but now they pick 3 cars at the beginning of the episode, and they're driving around a certain part of the world, and it's the reason why they pick those cars is because it has something significant of what they're doing. Because I'm watching like this Colombia episode where they got like all-terrain vehicles. One got a pickup truck, one got a really light like sort of all-terrain vehicle, but it's 1 liter, 49 horsepower car, and then another one got a Jeep Wrangler. And they're going through like Colombia, through the mountains and the forest and all that in these cars, and see whose car does the best for this camping travel experience of trying to survive in the wild. And they always have these different like kind of themes to each episode. So it's honestly a really, really interesting show.
So anyways, with that, we're going to take a time out. I do have my interview with Jason Fitz. Get caught up on everything that's going on in the national sports scene. And we discussed The Last Dance, which I want to talk about The Last Dance after the interview to call out our show. You're listening to Sports Call Davis and Justin on ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM.
Pensacola's own NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith has some tips for us during this time.
This fight is up to all of us to try to help bend that curve. It's going to take teamwork. It's going to take us to stay committed, stay focused, and stay dedicated to the mission at hand, and that is to keep everyone safe. So be encouraging. Find some support. Find someone to talk to every day to encourage them to keep on continuing in this fight. And we will beat this pandemic.
Your ESPN Pensacola Ridiculous Facts, I'm JP. The average lifespan of an MLB baseball is 5 to 7 pitches. What an absolute waste. The longest boxing match with gloves in history was 110 rounds long. It began around 9 p.m. on April 6, 1893, and ended the next day well after 4 a.m. Yikes. Give me a round of whatever they had. That's your ESPN Pensacola Ridiculous Facts. I'm JP. JP here. Everyone here at ESPN Pensacola wants to send a shout out to our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. We know it's tough, but we appreciate the work you put day in and day out. We also want to thank our essential workers out there for helping all of us continue to live our lives as normal as possible in this time. For our community, keep rocking it. We are going to get through this. Remember, we were named the #1 strong town in America. That wasn't by accident. We have seen so many people step up and do their part, and we thank all those people for their efforts. We will be stronger for this, and together, we will beat COVID-19.
Hi, I'm Matt Kenseth. You don't have to be a race car driver to know that life can be full of drama. Some of it you can't control, like mechanical issues, high winds, and rain delays. But there's some drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org.
You just need to take that first step and find free classes near you and leave the drama for the racetrack.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
What if people had a battery level icon? Like on your phone? You'd see a lot of us in need of a recharge. Thank goodness there's 5-Hour Energy. Because just one sugar-free, vitamin-packed 5-Hour Energy shot can get you all the way back to 100% fast. And isn't life better at 100%? 5-Hour Energy. Get back to 100%. For more information, visit 5hourenergy.com.
You can watch Sports Call with Davis and Justin live right now on our YouTube channel at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM. I think I just landed on it. I think that every time we have Jason Fitz on, we have to play Fitz and the Tantrums. One, because they're an awesome band, but two, it's Fitz. You know,
yeah, it's Fitz. If Fitz was Fitz.
Well, actually, no. Hold on. Why didn't I think about this earlier? We don't play a whole lot of country music on here.
No.
But the band Perry.
Yeah.
Country band.
Which is Jason.
Jason Fitz was the creative director and the violinist for that band.
Yeah.
So anytime you hear a violin on the band Perry, at least 3 years ago, that was him. So I guess, really, I should do that. That would literally make more sense because that is him.
It would, but
Either way,
it's kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place right now.
Yeah, because he's not with them anymore.
Yeah, he's not with them, and then also there's this other band that is the same exact music. I mean,
right.
Like so.
Well, not same exact music, but it has the name Fitz in it. So that's my logic there. Although my logic probably doesn't make sense regardless. I had an opportunity to sit down with Jason Fitz, the host of First Take, Your Take. You can hear him Monday through Friday on ESPN Pensacola from 1 to 2 Monday through Friday. Jason Fitz, I'm just going to start the interview from the very beginning like I normally do. This was recorded earlier in the week. Enjoy. ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM. Well, it's been a couple of weeks, but we are finally able to get connected with our friend Jason Fitz. He is the host of First Take, Your Take. You can hear him on ESPN Pensacola Radio, but you can also hear him every weekday, Monday through Friday on ESPN Radio, 12 through 2 our time, 1 through 3 Eastern time. Jason, welcome back to Sports Call. Good to hear from you. It's been a little while.
Yeah, man, it's been a little while. Got a couple of weeks to recharge a little bit and ready to get back at it.
I know with coronavirus, it's been a madness. You know, it seems to be nonstop, but slowly but surely we're just getting back to normal. We're slowly but surely getting there, and we're starting to see that in the sports landscape. And first, I want to get started with the big golf match that we have this weekend between Tiger and Phil. Yeah, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. I'm an avid golfer. I'm beyond ready to see this match.
Well, look, I think everybody is, not just for the golf, but for the trash talking. I mean, that's really going to be the biggest opportunity in this, is just to watch these guys go at each other. You have four guys with incredible competitive nature, and it's going to be funny also to see the difference. We talk so flippantly about how these quarterbacks can play golf, but there's just a difference, right? So just seeing how they're dug out of the holes that they put themselves into is going to be interesting. But mostly, I'm in it to see the competitiveness of four of the top athletes going at it in a way that we've never seen before, that I think could really be innovatively covered in a way that gives us sort of a footage and film that we'll be talking about for years. This is what I think this is the beginning of several steps towards this that I think is great for the game of golf and great for sports fans right now.
So this is the second time we're going to see Tiger and Phil play, and maybe even possibly we could see it happen a third time. How likely is it that we could see Michael Jordan join, given that he's an avid golfer and one of the greatest trash talkers of all time?
I love to see it, but Jordan's pretty protective. You know, he controls what environments he gets himself into, you know, through all of it. He's also very controlling of how often he gets sort of in the public eye today. So, you know, we've watched The Last Dance, and we talked so much about Jordan in that capacity, but let's also understand that Jordan does a great job of controlling his narrative, I think better than most athletes in sports. So, you know, I think it'd have to be under any sort of circumstance that gives him a can't-lose situation, because MJ's not going to put himself in a situation where he's a golfer, as an athlete, as a competitor, as a trash talker, as any of them.
And yeah, you know, speaking of The Last Dance, you know, The Last Dance is over. We've been through all 10 episodes. I'm sad that it's over, but I'm happy that it happened. And Jordan said on an interview with Good Morning America before the series began that there's a possibility that we may dislike him when it's all said and done. Personally, I think my respect for him has grown even more given the competitive nature of the person that he is. But also you have guys like Horace Grant coming out, calling him out regarding that the book that Sam Smith had wrote regarding what goes on in the locker room, and then also calling him out saying guys were doing cocaine in the rooms and that he wanted nothing to do with it. Did Jordan give himself a bad image in your eyes, or is this sort of the Jordan that we've always known?
I think it's the Jordan we've always known, and we want everybody to be who they are in commercials, right? This is something that some of my friends that have been lucky enough to be successful actors have talked about, that when you walk up and down the streets, everybody thinks you're the character you play. We think that Michael Jordan, the ad campaign, because like Mike, if I could be like Mike, was so lovable. But let's not forget that he got there by playing lights out. I mean, what guy or girl has that level of success that doesn't have a competitive fire in them? It's in a different spot. And look, you've heard prominent athletes talk in the past about not wanting to coach because how can you demand sort of what you expected of yourself from everybody else? And that's what Michael Jordan did. I mean, Michael Jordan, the player, demanded a level of commitment and excellence and consistency that most people are not capable of demanding out of themselves. It's part of what made Mamba mentality special for Kobe, was that, he had a little bit of that fire. So for Michael Jordan, I think he comes out looking exactly the way he should. He looks like somebody that has a different gear and a different level of focus, because that's what made him great. I think the real question is, why has he not been able to translate that to better business success as an owner in the NBA? Because, frankly, he spent a lot of that documentary trashing Jerry Reinsdorf and Jerry Krause. And those two gentlemen did something he hasn't been able to do: identify talent, build a roster, and make a competitive basketball team. He has not done that for Charlotte.
Yeah, and that was actually one of the thoughts I was having, is he's been at Charlotte for quite a while now, but has not been able to replicate that same kind of success. And I guess one way I looked at it is it's because he purely doesn't have full control. I mean, when you're on the field, or the basketball court in this case, you can have some sort of control of the game because you can get the ball in your hands. But perhaps executive Mike couldn't quite translate from what player Mike was.
Well, but also look at the fact that the NBA is so culture-driven, where guys play with and for people they like playing with and for. So the other side of it is, we look at the way the teammates around Michael have spoken, they just didn't seem to like him a lot. Well, if you're not a particularly likable guy and you're coming out in a salary cap system for the NBA where max contracts are pretty normal all the way across the board, you can make the same money to play for Michael in Charlotte, not a particularly loved guy, but Michael in Charlotte, or you can make that money to play somewhere else with your buddies and have a better environment in your mind to work around. I mean, maybe Michael Jordan, the competitor, is the exact reason that Michael Jordan, the owner, isn't getting great players to want to come to Charlotte.
We're speaking with Jason Fitz. He's the host of First Take Your Take on ESPN Radio. So coming up, hopefully on July 4th, or at least in that area, baseball is baby stepping their way back to reality. And the owners have laid down what they want to see. The players are almost all for it, but then there's that 50-50 revenue split, which you just knew they weren't even going to discuss. Tony Perez already said, we're not going to negotiate further than already doing prorated salaries. And then you have, and I'm a Tampa guy, grew up going to Rays games, Blake Snell, former Cy Young winner, coming out saying he's not playing, period, if he has to take any kind of pay cut. Now for Blake, is this a move of greed, or does he have a point there? Because you'd imagine that, there are players that are backing him up. Most notably, Bryce Harper are coming in and they're supporting what he has to say. Not many other players have been so vocal, but then you have guys like Stephen A. Smith saying, and I quote, "Shut up." What is your take on Blake Snell and his response to not wanting to play if he has to take any kind of pay cut?
Look, I don't disagree with the principle of what he's saying, but where I think Stephen A. is right is you can't win that battle right now. I mean, even if that's the way you feel, if you're going to come out in a world where we've got families all over that are trying to figure out how to feed, to keep food on the table, you've got unemployment rates the highest since Great Depression. Is it a good look for an athlete to come in and say, I'm not going to play unless I get all of my $7 million? I mean, ultimately, this is the worst argument you can ever have in sports, which is millionaires versus billionaires. Now, you put millionaires versus billionaires, at least in the court of public perception, whether that's right or not, you put that same argument up against a world of fans that are struggling day in and day out. I understand that some owners aren't billionaires and some players aren't millionaires, and this affects the bottom of the rung as much as it affects the top of the rung. But when you are in a global pandemic where people right now more than ever are worried about what the future looks like, and it turns into an argument between rich people about money, that's the sort of thing that I think turns people away from the sport, not just now, but for generations, because dads and kids and moms and daughters are all going to remember Major League Baseball chose not to come back because of money in the year that they were all trying to worry about how they were going to keep themselves fed. I think that's a terrible look for everybody involved, even if they're right on some level.
And, the likelihood that baseball comes back in July, right now it's looking promising. We're not sure. Now, Blake also is countering with, my health is also at risk when I go out there. But I want to keep this in mind, and it's hard for me not to look at it as a fan's perspective. I want to try and look at this from a radio show host perspective. But also the reality is this, 2 years ago, your Cy Young winning year, you were making less than $500,000 a year. And now you get a significant pay raise, which is something unheard of in the Rays industry, given that they have always had one of the lowest payrolls in all of baseball. And you're telling everybody, I'm not willing to play for $3.5 million. I mean, think of it; it's a half a season.
I mean, but he's also going to turn around and say, "Look at the value you got." Like the hard part about this, to your point that you made earlier, if he comes out and says, "Guys, I just don't feel comfortable playing," I think America respects that. I mean, right now, in today's world, more than ever, we've empowered people to come out and say what they're comfortable with, speak their truth, right? If we come out and make it about, guys, it's about health, it's about my family, it's about I'm worried about my mom and my dad, and I don't want to be a carrier. Like, all of these things are valid, viable concerns. If it becomes a conversation about money, even though he's right to say, hey, look, I won a Cy Young when I wasn't making any money. Look at how much profit you made off of me now. Now you want me to worry about you when you're losing money. I understand all of these economics arguments, but, man, Court of Public Appeals not going to look back favorably on anybody involved in a money dispute right now.
So again, speaking with Jason Fitz, he's the host of First Take Your Take on ESPN Radio. Now, if let's say baseball doesn't happen, this coronavirus just doesn't go away, we cannot resume baseball, do players take the blame in the public eye, which is something that Hall of Fame pitcher Tom Glavine is fearing could possibly happen?
Yeah, I mean, they do. And again, even if they're right, because people take the sides. In the NBA, everybody takes the sides of the players, never the teams. In most other sports, it becomes at some point about your favorite team. It's about the uniform, not who's wearing the uniform. And that's why so often we see people side with, how often do you see in NFL circles where your favorite team is out there and suddenly you're
ESPN Pensacola, it appears we had a connection issue at the end of the interview that just randomly popped up. It just randomly popped up. So then again, anything literally can happen in live radio. So I know we were around this part. I'll finish it off. We were almost done anyways, so I'll finish it off around this point.
That's just part of how it is. So to that end, yeah, if it becomes, if Major League Baseball doesn't come back, and you know that it'll be heavily reported, when it's reported, if it doesn't come back and money was the reason why, yeah, I think whether you're an 8-year-old kid or an 80-year-old adult, you're going to look at that as baseball players turning their back on society when society needed them the most. Fair or not, and that's going to be the damage that's done.
So to switch into more of a lighthearted topic when it comes to the sport of baseball, there is one baseball league out there that's still playing, and it's in South Korea, the KBO, the Korean Baseball Organization. Now, I still wake up at the time of 4 a.m. Central Time, and I get an opportunity to watch a little bit of KBO. And I've always been a fan of the bat flip, but that is something that is so frowned upon in the MLB. And along with any kind of showboating, I know that Juan Soto, especially in this area, received a ton of flack for being outgoing, being celebratory, but he's also a guy who's comes from the Caribbean area where embracing the good things that happen in baseball is a bigger thing. In the KBO, the bat flip is an embraced thing. Will we ever get to a point in Major League Baseball where we will ease our standards and be okay with the bat flip, be okay with a little bit of showboating from our players?
I wish we would. The problem is I think so many baseball fans are an older demographic that believe in tradition and they believe in sort of the way things have been done, right? So I think it would be key. For me, if baseball wants to continue to broaden their audience, allowing more personality to come from the players is a big key to it. Not with you. I think the KBO has been fun to watch. It's fun to watch people celebrate, and especially in a world where home runs are going to be hit and you can't high-five your teammates. I mean, if a player wants to do cartwheels, I don't care. Something to give it personality watching the game is, I think, important because that's part of – we always talk about the love of the game. What better way to show the love of the game than unadulterated joy? And anything that shows that was – KBO just seems to have a different level of joy. I'm all in for that coming to Major League Baseball.
We're speaking with Jason Fitz. He's the host of First Take Your Take on ESPN Radio. Jason, I have one last question for you, and it's this, and it's very simple. Will the NBA be able to resume its season?
Yeah, I think they're going to figure out a way. The NBA's particularly progressive in the way they handle things. I think the NBA figures this out. I'm not sure what it's going to look like. I'm not sure if they're going to have to hold up somewhere, if they're going to have to do a strange tournament. But the NBA is aggressive in wanting to get back. I think they'll find a way to have it.
Well, Jason, as always, I do appreciate the time. Jason Fitz, the host of First Take, Your Take on ESPN Radio on Sports Call Davis and Justin. Jason, as always, I appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week.
Have a great week. Thank you so much.
So ESPN Pensacola, that was my interview with Jason Fitz. And the last thing I asked was, do you see the NBA resuming? Well, we do have some news that we're going to tell you after this break. You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM.
I'm Troy Rafferty, and many of you know about my love for sports and my longtime support for our local high school athletes. One thing these fine young people have taught me over the years is this: whether it's on the ball field, in the classroom, or in a court of law, always work your hardest and achieve the best results possible. And that is the commitment we make to our clients and our community.
Levin Papantonio in Pensacola since 1955.
Hear ye, hear ye. I bringeth thee a message from a message from the king and his new trumpeter, Stephen. The king wishes me to convey his favor to thine team and thine tailgate. Not yet. He invites thee to let the Bud Light flow forth. And he also wishes me to tell thee that he toasts thee. Waiteth until the end, Stephen. With game day's favorite light lager and the slogan of his kingdom. Oh, dilly dilly.
Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri.
From First Take to your radio.
Zion, 16 games. Okay, how many games do they have left? About 20, 22 games. All right, so he ain't going to even reach 40 games. Damn it, I mean, this first year in the NBA, which he's getting paid for, it's like a college season at Duke. Give a damn about no back-to-back. You're 19 years old. 19 years old. All right, figure it out.
1 to 2 weekday afternoons on ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
The greatest name in sports radio is ESPN. Wherever you have Alexa, you can hear ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Just say,
Alexa, enable ESPN Pensacola 1330 skill.
They're playing basketball. We love that basketball. They're playing basketball. We love that basketball. They're playing basketball.
That's right. We could possibly be playing basketball now. And I've been on record saying that the basketball season is not going to resume. However, latest developments have been making me change my mind. I said earlier in the show, and Justin, you and I both agree that basketball would come back, and you actually sent me an alert during the Jason Fitz interview.
Yep, and that's Disney. They're in sole talks with the NBA because Disney has a very big sports. It's the ESPN worldwide of sports because Disney does own ESPN, and so ESPN is strongly affiliated with the NBA that they could be playing some of their games at the beginning of the season or when it gets resumed at Disney, which would be a big help.
Yeah, exactly. And if you are or have been an AAU athlete, you have probably played at that complex at some point. I played AAU baseball, but we were so terrible that it was in our best interest to not do those tournaments because they are highly competitive tournaments.
Oh, yeah.
And they're also very expensive.
Yes.
It's a lot of money to get a team down there, but still, it's an overall wonderful experience for those that do get to do it, and I know a lot of people that have been able to do it. And they're also in talks with Las Vegas to be another location as well, especially for the West teams. But one good thing about having them all in the same complex would be that all the teams that are in the schedule to play one another can easily play one another. You do not have to travel as much, and also you could still observe social distancing during those games. And now, will there be fans in attendance? Maybe, given everything going on. But one thing I've learned is that week by week, we keep learning more, we keep getting more, and we are allowed to do more. And so next week, who knows what Justin and I will be able to tell you. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your weekend, enjoy the week ahead, and we'll see you next week. We're out.
This is ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
This is Game Day on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Welcome back to Game Day here on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and SiriusXM Channel 80, presented by Progressive Insurance. Alongside Katie George, I'm George Sedano. We got 2 more hours to go. Thanks to Bobby Marks for joining us in that first hour. If you missed the first hour, we had breaking news from Ramona Shelburne as the NBA is in conversations with Walt Disney World about playing their games at Walt Disney World at ESPN's Wide World of Sports as a single site campus atmosphere. So we'll discuss that with our next guest, David Jacoby, co-host of Jalen Jacoby. But we also want to talk to him about the Lance Armstrong 30 for 30, which is coming out this Sunday at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. And don't forget, Jalen Jacoby, the after show continues this Sunday following the premiere of the latest 30 for 30 Lance, Part 1. Immediately after the show airs, listen to the wrap-up podcast as Jalen and Jacoby react to the film, and that features, of course, Armstrong himself and one of the biggest doping scandals in sports history. Subscribe now to Jalen and Jacoby, the after show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So, Jacoby, thanks for hanging out with us, man. So, I want to get to the NBA stuff with you in a second, but let's start with Lance. My biggest surprise about this entire project is just getting Lance to commit to doing it, because there have been other documentaries about this stuff that have not included Lance actually sitting down for it. So how did they get Lance to commit to something like this?
Well, it's not. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have seen Part 1 already, which airs at 9 o'clock on Sunday. And it's not just that he committed. Like, he is full on jumping into the pool cannonball style commitment. Like, he's not like he sat down to do an interview, which you see sometimes with sort of scandals like this. Someone will sit down and do a friendly interview. Like, this is following him documentary style, multiple interviews, very, very candid. This is how I doped. This is when I doped. This is when I started. This is how we did it. This is where I got it. It's very much just sort of like ripping the Band-Aid off. And one thing, it's sort of like the Michael Jordan documentary. There's a lot of parallels, but there's also like vast contrast. But one of the parallels is we know this person's athletic achievements, but not so much about that person. And I almost want to draw another parallel between like the shoes and like the Livestrong armbands, like sort of like these products that were in our face that were part of the culture, but the human behind them we didn't really understand. And Lance, I do understand a lot better after watching this, and he's kind of a jerk. Another thing you learn.
Dave, speaking of the candor and honesty that he displays in Part 1, do you feel like that'll change people's perception of Lance after seeing this documentary?
Absolutely. That's a good question, Katie. I think that it's going to change, but change is different than turn around. You know what I mean? Like if you were one of those who said, he's a cheater, cheating's terrible, as an athlete, I would never cheat, it's kind of against this unspoken code and honor. And if you felt that way, you're not going to walk away from at least Part 1 and say to yourself, you know what, now I see life through a whole different perspective, and he was just kind of doing what he had to do to, excel, and, he has these traumatic issues that drove him to do that. No. Like, I think that it's not going to change your mind about him, but he lets you so much in, and he's so honest about the cheating and the cancer and the competition and the sport of cycling itself that you have more respect for him after you watch it.
Jacoby, and we're talking to Jacoby, Dave Jacoby, one half of the great duo of Jalen Jacoby, about ESPN's 30 for 30 Lance, again, which will premiere on Sunday at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on ESPN television. Did you get the sense that he felt just like he was unstoppable, right? Like, or in this regard, because cycling was a niche sport, is a niche sport, but he made it a mainstream sport. Like, we as Americans cared about cycling in a way we never cared about cycling. Did he come across as invincible in his own mind because of what he was able to accomplish, not only on the cycling turf, but as far as beating the cancer?
Yeah, I mean, it's that particular part of his life, and like I forget a lot of the details. Again, sort of like it's analogous to The Last Dance, where you remember the shot, but you kind of forget the steal on Malone before the shot, you know. And what you remember is you remember the cancer, and I forgot how close he was to dying, and I forgot how hard it was for him to get back into cycling, and then I also forgot the scandal that preceded him winning his first post-cancer Tour de France in '98. There was a big doping scandal. It had nothing to do with Lance Armstrong. So they thought that 99 would be this clean race. But really what you learn is that the riders were just like one, pedal ahead of the testers, and that was actually still a dirty race. And it's not so much that he explains away the doping because of some sort of internal psychological battle of being invincible or trauma. It really sounds like the sport itself, in order to compete, it's just the cost of entry. That's what it felt like in the doc.
I know we have a lot to unpack with the recent news coming out with the NBA, but you mentioned The Last Dance, and it was so well done. I'm just curious, how much enjoyment did you and Jalen get out of doing the after show to The Last Dance for these last few weeks?
I mean, it was just so much fun because I'm sure Katie and George, and I think George and George is obviously a great duo. I mean, Mike and Mike went for 40 years on the network. George and George just got a lot of legs. It's spelled differently. I love it. But I will say that much like everyone else at 11 o'clock on Sunday, they got to talk to their friends about The Last Dance, or we've all been in the text threads or just in the Twitter feed and the timelines. But to be able to do that with the director of the film and Jalen was just such a delight every week, because Jason, the director of the film, I met him working at HBO Sports in 2001. Jalen, he actually also directed the Fab Five 30 for 30. So we both had relationships with him. So it's just like talking with your friends, except one of your friends actually directed the film. So it was an absolute pleasure, and I'm just so happy that we had the honor of being asked to do it.
Jacoby, one last thing on the Lance documentary, and then we want to talk some basketball with you with the latest news that Ramona broke. But look, because cycling is not the most mainstream sport, as we discussed earlier, who are some of the characters that people should know going into this particular documentary?
Well, there's an Italian coach with the last name Ferrari, and I don't believe there's any relation, and he's sort of he's an interesting character. I won't explain why, no spoilers. And there's his teammates. And I think that one thing we forget is, and again, I'll bring up The Last Dance again because it's such an easy reference because literally everybody in the world watched it. But there was so much about Rodman and Kerr and Phil Jackson and Scottie Pippen. But with cycling, this team sport, it really was about Lance. Like if you were to say to me, before I saw this film, name someone on Lance's cycling team. Any year he won the Tour de France, name a single person, I would say I could not. And even after he stood on the podium in the yellow jersey, I still couldn't name them. So I think that understanding them and their relationship to this story is sort of like something that's fun that I didn't expect from part one.
We know you saw Ramona Shelburne's recent tweet and news that broke around 12:30 today. The NBA has entered into conversations with the Walt Disney Corporation about restarting the remainder of its season at Disney's ESPN Wide World of Sports complex down in Orlando. Dave, how do you feel about a one-site situation to resume play for the NBA?
I mean, it's really one of the only options. And I think that this is a great option, not just because we all work at the Disney Corporation, but also because if you think about Las Vegas, there's just so much coming in and out of there that a true bubble environment would be difficult. And one thing I've learned about this particular virus that we're dealing with is I'm not in the predicting what's going to happen in the future game, but I think there's a lot more variables at play in Las Vegas. I mean, there's a report also today that in early June they're going to reopen casinos, and I think that a Las Vegas environment is a bubble that's a lot easier to burst, especially with NBA players, than Orlando. And I think that Orlando is just, we've got the hotels are there. There's acres and acres of land that are literally closed off to the public right now. It really does create like a compound environment. And like, you forget about stuff like this, like if you're one of the players' kids and families, like, you're going to have that pool to yourself at the hotel. Like, it's going to be a great time for some of these, like, 5 and 6 year olds or 10-year-olds. Like, they're going to be like, you remember that month in 2020 when Daddy was working and we just swam in the pool all day long at Disney World by ourselves?
Yeah, it'll be awesome. And as someone with kids like you, Jacoby, you know how big that is. That is a huge deal.
First thing I thought about.
Yeah, that is a huge deal. One last thing for you. Now, we know that for basketball and for financial reasons, there's talk about playing regular season games. But what would you do if you were in charge? Would you like to see regular season games played out, or would you just go straight to the playoffs and have 16 teams?
Well, Adam Silver asks me these kind of questions every single day. You know what I mean? It's a little known fact. I'm sort of like his consigliere in the shadows. And what I told him is, like, I don't want to see the Warriors. I don't want to see the Cavs. I don't want to see the Hawks. Like, I think there's no sort of, like, for lack of a better term, point to having those teams in this bubble to play when there's no hope of them playing, like, truly competitive, basketball, playoff basketball. So what I would do is I would do a 7 through 10 play-in tournament for the 7 and 8 seed. And then, first of all, I'd run a bunch of, like, exhibition games, basically scrimmages, like preseason games, essentially, just to sort of, like, get the kinks out and get that going. And then I would do 7 against 10, 8 against 9. Those teams get the 7th and 8th seed, and then I would play a semi-regular playoff format with games every other night because you don't have to travel. And I'd like to see 7-game series as well. And I think that way every single player, every single coach, every single medical staff that walks inside the quote-unquote bubble, which looks like it'll be Orlando, walks in there with, like, all right, we have a chance at this. Because I don't think it's really fair to have people with no hopes of truly competing for a championship or even playoff basketball to walk in the bubble. That would be what I would do.
Dave Jacoby, one half of the great duo of Jalen and Jacoby. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and to the after show podcast for Lance. All right, man. Thank you so much for the time. Tell Adam Silver I say what's up.
Thanks, Dave.
I will. Thanks so much, George and George.
All right, see you, dude. There he is. There's Jacoby. All right, ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. At Progressive, they're making things even easier. They'll help you bundle your home and car insurance together so you can save on both. Learn more at Progressive.com or calling them at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. Coming up next, Dak Prescott's contract situation is still up in the air. How big a red flag is this? We'll get to that in a second, but first, here's Katie with the SportsCenter update.
The NBA and Walt Disney Corporation, George, are currently discussing restarting the remainder of its season at Disney's ESPN Wide World of Sports complex in Orlando, Florida in late July, NBA spokesperson Mike Bass said Saturday. The format is still to be determined, but the 220-acre ESPN Wide World of Sports complex with its 3 arenas and ample hotel accommodations would allow the league to restart play while limiting outside exposure. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car needs. We're close, convenient, and known for our guaranteed everyday low prices and excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
Monday on Golick and Wingo. After 2 races this past week at Darlington, NASCAR heads to Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Coca-Cola 600. Marty and McGee will have a complete recap Monday morning at 8 Eastern on ESPN Radio.